Murder in the first degree. Premeditated homicide is the most serious charge tried in our criminal courts. You have heard a long and complex case, and it is now your duty to sit down to try to separate the facts from the fancy. One man is dead. The life of another is at stake. If there is a reasonable doubt in your minds as to the guilt of the accused, then you must declare him not guilty. If, however, there is no reasonable doubt, then he must be found guilty. Whichever way you decide, the verdict must be unanimous. I urge you to deliberate honestly and thoughtfully. You are faced with a grave responsibility. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.
He doesn't stand a chance. Chewing gum? Gum?
Oh, thank you, but no.
You know something?
I know a lot of things. I'm in advertising.
You know it's hot.
I never would have known that if you hadn't told me. Would you?
I suppose not. I'd kind of forgotten.
All I've done all day is sweat.
I bet you aren't sweating like that kid who was tried.
You'd think they'd at least air condition the place. I almost dropped dead in court.
My taxes are high enough.
This should go fast anyway.
It is hot.
Okay. Everybody's here. If there's anything you need, I'm right outside. Just knock.
Did he lock that door?
Yes, he did.
What do they think we are, crooks?
They lock us up for a little while.
Hey, but then they lock up that kid forever. And that's okay by me.
I didn't know they did that.
Sure they locked the door. What did you think?
I just didn't know. It never occurred to me.
Shall we all admit that it's hot and humid and our tempers are a bit short?
It's been a pretty hard week.
I feel just fine.
I wonder what's going on down at the office. You know how it is in advertising. In 6 days, my job could be gone. And the whole company, too. They aren't going to like this.
Well, figure this our duty.
I didn't object to doing my duty. I just mentioned I might not have a job by the time I get back.
Well, ask her to hire you. She's rich. Look at that dress.
Is it custom tailored?
Yes, it is.
I have an uncle who's a tailor.
Oh, how does he do?
Not too well. You know, a friend of his, that's a friend of my uncle, the tailor. Well, this friend wanted to be on this jury in my place.
Why don't you let him? I would have done anything to miss this.
And get caught or something. You know what kind of a fine I could pay for a thing like that? Anyway, this friend of my uncle's was on a jury once about 10 years ago. A case just about like this one.
So, what happened?
They let him off. Reasonable doubt. And do you know, about 8 years later, they found out he'd actually done it anyway. A guilty man, a murderer, was turned loose in the streets.
Did they get him?
They couldn't.
Why not?
A man can't be held in double jeopardy. Unless it's a hung jury, you can't try a man twice for the same crime.
Well, that isn't going to happen here.
6 days. They should have finished it in 2. There's talk, talk, talk. You ever hear so much talking about nothing?
Well, I guess they're entitled.
Yeah, everyone gets a fair trial. That's the system. Well, I suppose you can't say anything against it.
How'd you like that business about the knife? You ever hear of one of your stories?
Well, look, You've got to expect that. You know what you're dealing with.
We know he bought a Swiss knife that night.
And then he lost it.
A hole in his pocket.
A hole in his father.
Good one.
An awful way to kill your father. A knife in his chest.
Look at the kind of people they are. You know them. That's it.
What's the matter? You got a cold?
A Lulu. These hot weather colds can kill you.
I had one last year while I was on vacation too.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, let's take seats.
Right, this better be fast. I've got tickets to the Yankees game tonight. I must be the only guy who hasn't gone this season. Okay, Your Honor, start the show.
How about sitting down? The lady at the window. How about sitting down?
Oh, I'm sorry.
It's tough to figure, isn't it? A boy kills his father. Bing! Just like that. Well, it's the element. They let the kids run wild. Maybe it serves them right.
There are better proofs than some emotion you might have. Perhaps a dislike for some group.
We all agreed that it was hot.
And that our tempers will be short.
Well, that's if we disagree. But this is open and shut. Let's get it done.
All right, now, you ladies and gentlemen may handle this any way you want to. I mean, I'm not going to make any rules. If we want to discuss it first and then vote, that's one way, or we can vote right now and see how we stand.
Let's vote now. Who knows? Maybe we can all go home.
Yeah, let's see who's where.
Right, let's vote now.
All right, let's vote.
Anybody who doesn't want to vote? All right, all those voting guilty, raise your hands. 8, 9, 10, 11. That's 11 for guilty. Okay, not guilty.
Hey, you're in left field.
Okay, 11 to 1, 11 guilty, 1 not guilty. Now we know where we stand.
Do you really believe he's not guilty?
I don't know.
After 6 days, she doesn't know?
In 6 days, I can learn calculus. This is ABC.
I don't believe this is as simple as ABC.
I never saw a guiltier man in my life.
What does a guilty man look like? He's not guilty until we say he is. Are we to vote on his face?
Look, you sat in court and heard the same things I did. The man's a dangerous killer. You could see it.
Where do you look to see if a man's a dangerous killer?
Oh, well,
Because I'd like to know. Tell me what the facial characteristics of a killer are. Maybe you know something I don't know.
Look, what is about the case that makes you think this boy is innocent?
He's 19 years old.
That's old enough. He knifed his own father, 4 inches into the chest. An innocent little 19-year-old kid.
While I agree with you that the boy is guilty, I think we should try to avoid emotionally colored arguments.
All right. They proved it a dozen different ways. You want me to list them?
No.
Well, do you believe that stupid story he told?
Now.
Do you believe the kid's story?
I don't know whether I believe it or not. Maybe I don't.
So what'd you vote not guilty for?
There were 11 votes for guilty. It's not so easy for me to raise my hand and send a boy out to die without at least talking about it first.
Who says it's easy for me?
Or me.
No one.
He's still just as guilty, whether it's an easy vote or a hard vote.
Is there something wrong because I voted fast?
Not necessarily.
Well, I think the guy's guilty. You couldn't change my mind, even if you talked for 100 years.
I don't want to change your mind.
Then just what are you thinking of?
I want to talk for a while. Look, this kid's been kicked around all his life, living in a slum, his mother dead since he was 9. That's not a very good head start. This is a tough, angry kid. You know why slum kids get that way. Because we knock them over the head once a day, every day. I think maybe we owe him a few words. That's all.
All right. It's hard, sure. It was hard for me. Everything I got, I fought for. I worked my way all through college. That was a long time ago, and perhaps you do forget. I fought, yes, but I never killed.
I know what it's like. I never killed nobody.
Yeah, I've been kicked around too. Trust me, once you start working in an ad agency and the big boy that buys the advertising comes in, we all know.
In my country, in Europe, kicking was a science, but let's try to find something better than that.
Look, I don't mind telling you this, lady. We don't owe this kid a thing. He got a fair trial, didn't he? Right. You know what that trial cost? He's lucky he got it. Look, we're all grown-ups here. You can't expect us to believe him. Knowing what he is, I've lived among them all my life.
You
can't believe a word they say. You know that.
I don't know that. What a terrible thing for a man to believe. Since when has dishonesty become a group characteristic? You have no monopoly on the truth here.
All right, it's not Sunday. We don't need a sermon.
What this man says is very dangerous.
I don't see any need for arguing like this. I think we ought to behave like civilized people.
Right.
All right, if you insist.
Thank you.
Sure.
If we're going to discuss this case, why, let's discuss the facts.
I think that's a good point. We have a job to do. Let's do it.
If you don't mind, I'm going to go close the window. It was blowing on my neck.
I'd like to have the window open if you don't mind.
But it was blowing on me.
Don't you want a little air? It's summer. It's hot.
I was very uncomfortable.
There are 12 of us in this room. It's the only window if you don't mind.
I have some rights too.
Well, so do the rest of us.
Couldn't you trade chairs with someone at the other end of the table?
All right, I will open the window. If someone will trade,
Oh, take my chair.
thank you.
Shall we get back to the case?
Yeah, let's.
I may have an idea here. I'm just thinking out loud now. But it seems to me that it's up to us to convince this lady that we're right and she's wrong. So what if we each talk for a minute or two, try it on for size?
That sounds fair enough.
Very fair.
Anyone object? Supposing we go once around the table.
All right, let's start it off.
All right. We'll start with you.
Oh. Well, I think he's guilty. I thought it was obvious.
In what way was it obvious?
I mean, nobody proved otherwise.
Nobody has to prove otherwise. Innocent until proven guilty? The burden of proof is on the prosecution. The defendant doesn't have to open his mouth. That's in the Constitution. You've heard of it?
Everyone has.
Well, sure, I've heard of it. I know what it is. What I mean... Well, anyway, I think he's guilty.
No reasons? Just guilty? There's a life at stake here.
Okay, let's get to the facts. Number one, let's talk about the old man who lived on the second floor, right underneath the room where the murder took place. At 10 minutes after 12, on the night of the killing, he said he heard loud noises coming from the upstairs apartment. He said it sounded like a fight. And he heard the kid say to his father, "I'm gonna kill you." A second later, he heard the father's body falling. And he ran to the door, he looked out, and he saw the kid running down the stairs and out of the house. Then he called the police, and they found the father with a knife in his chest.
And the coroner fixed the time of death at around midnight.
Right. Now, what else do you want?
I don't know. It doesn't sound right to me.
The boy's entire story is flimsy. He claims he was at the movies that night. That's a little ridiculous, isn't it? He couldn't even remember what picture he saw.
That's right. You hear that? You're absolutely right.
He didn't have any ticket stub.
Who keeps a ticket stub at the movies?
That's true enough.
I suppose, but the cashier didn't remember him.
The ticket taker didn't either.
Look, what about the woman across the street? If her testimony don't prove it, then nothing does.
That's right. She saw the killing, didn't she?
Okay, let's go in order.
Just a minute. Here's a woman who's lying in bed and can't sleep. It's hot, you know? Anyways, she gets out of bed, looks out the window, and right across the street, she sees the kid stick the knife into his father.
How can she really be sure it was the kid when she saw it through the windows of a passing elevated train?
She's known the kid all his life. His window is directly opposite to hers, across the L tracks, and she swore she saw him do it.
I heard her swear to it.
Okay, and they proved in court that you can look through the windows of a passing L train at night and see exactly what's happening on the other side. They proved it.
Weren't you telling us just a minute or two ago that we can't trust them, that we can't believe them?
So?
Then I'd like to ask you something. How come you believed her? She's one of them too, isn't she?
You're a pretty smart lady, aren't you?
Now take it easy.
Come on. Sit down. What are you letting her get you all upset over? Relax.
They took us up to the woman's room, and we looked through the windows of a passing L train, didn't we?
Yes, we did.
And weren't you able to see what happened on the other side?
I couldn't see as well as they told me I would see, but I could see what was happening.
You see? Do you see?
Let's calm down now. It's your turn.
I'll pass it.
That's your privilege. How about you?
Oh, I started to be convinced, with the testimony from those people across the hall. Didn't they say something about an argument between the boy and his father at around 7 o'clock that night? I mean, I could be wrong.
I think it was 8 o'clock, not 7.
That's right, 8 o'clock.
They heard the father hit the boy twice, and then saw the boy walk angrily out of the house.
Right.
What does that prove?
It doesn't exactly prove anything, it's just part of the picture. I never said it proved anything.
Anything else?
No?
I don't know. Most of it's been said already. We can talk all day about this thing, but I think we're wasting our time.
I don't.
Neither do I. Go on.
Look at the kid's record. He's been arrested for mugging. He's stolen a car, and I think they said he stabbed someone in the yard.
They did.
He was arrested for knife fighting at 15. He was in reform school.
Yeah, and they sent him to reform school for stabbing someone.
This is a very fine boy.
Ever since he was 5 years old, his father beat him up. Regularly, he used his fists.
So would I on a kid like that.
Yeah, you're right. It's the kids, the way they are. They don't listen. I've got a kid. When he was 8 years old, he ran away from a fight. I saw him. I was so ashamed. I told him outright, I'm gonna make a man out of you, or I'm gonna bust you in little pieces trying. Yeah, but when he was 15, he hit me in the face. And he's big, I haven't seen him in 3 years. Rotten kids. I hate tough kids. You work your heart out of them. All right, let's get on.
We're missing the point here. This boy, let's say he is a product of a filthy neighborhood and a broken home. We can't help that. We're not here to go into reasons as to why slums are breeding grounds for criminals. They are. I know it, and so do you. Children who come out of slum backgrounds are potential menaces to society.
You said it there. I don't want any part of them, believe me.
I've lived in a slum all my life.
Now wait a
I
second.
used to play in a backyard that was filled with garbage. Maybe it still smells on me.
No, let's be reasonable. There's nothing personal.
There is something personal.
Hey, come on. He didn't mean you. Let's not be so sensitive.
Who did he mean?
I can understand the sensitivity.
Now, stop the bickering.
We're wasting time.
It's your turn.
All right. I had a peculiar feeling about this case. Somehow I felt the defense counsel never really conducted a thorough cross-examination. Too many questions were left unasked.
While it doesn't change my opinion about the guilt of the boy, I agree with you that the defense counsel was bad.
So?
This is a point.
What about facts?
So many questions were never answered.
But what about the questions that were answered? For instance, let's talk about that cute little switch knife. The one that fine, upright kid admitted to buying?
All right. Let's talk about it. Let's get it in here and look at it. I'd like to see it again, Foreman.
We all know what it looks like. I don't see why we have to look at it again. What do you think?
She has a right to see exhibits and evidence.
Okay with me.
The knife is a pretty strong piece of evidence, don't you agree?
I do.
And now let's get the sequence of events right as they relate to the switch knife.
The boy admits leaving his house at about 8 o'clock after being slapped by his father.
Or punched.
Or punched. He went to a neighborhood store and bought a switch knife. The storekeeper was arrested the following day when he admitted to selling it to the boy.
I think everyone agrees it's a pretty unusual knife. Pretty hard to forget something like that.
The storekeeper said it was the only one of its kind he had in stock. Why did the boy get it?
As a present for a friend of his, he said.
Am I right so far?
Right.
You bet she's right. You people listen to this lady. She knows what she's talking about.
Next, on his way home, the boy claims that the knife must have fallen out of a hole in his coat pocket, that he never saw it again. Now there's a story here. You all know what actually happened. The boy took the knife home and a few hours later stabbed his father with it. and even remembered to wipe away the fingerprints. Everyone connected with the case identified this knife. And now, are you trying to tell me that someone picked it up off the street, went to the boy's house, and stabbed his father with it just to be amusing?
No, I'm saying it's possible that the boy lost his knife and somebody else stabbed his father with a similar knife. It's possible.
Take a look at this knife. It's a very strange knife. I've never seen one like it before in my life, and neither had the storekeeper who admitted to selling it to the boy. Aren't you trying to make us accept a pretty incredible coincidence?
I'm not trying to make anyone accept anything. I'm just saying it's possible.
And I'm saying it's not possible. Well,
It's a knife.
hey, what are you trying to do?
Yeah, what is this? Who do you think you are?
Look at it. It's the same knife.
Quiet, let's be quiet.
Where did you get it?
Oh, I got it at a little junk shop just around the corner from the boy's house. It cost $2.
Hey, now listen to me.
I'm listening.
You pulled a real smart trick here, but you've proved absolutely zero. Maybe there are 10 switch knives like that, but so what?
Maybe there are.
The boy lied and you know he did.
And maybe he didn't lie. Maybe he really did lose his switch knife, and maybe he did go to the movies. Maybe the reason nobody saw him at the movies was because he sneaked into the movies and was ashamed to say so. Is there anybody here who didn't sneak into the movies once or twice when they were young?
I didn't.
Really? Not even once.
We didn't have movies.
Oh.
Maybe he went to the movies, maybe he didn't, and he may have lied. Do you think he lied?
No, that's a stupid question. Sure he lied.
Do you?
You don't have to ask me that. You already know my answer. He lied.
Do you think he lied?
I don't know.
Now, wait a second. What are you, the guy's lawyer? Listen, there's still 11 of us who think he's guilty. You're alone. What do you think you're to accomplish? You want to be stubborn and hang this jury? He'll be tried again and found guilty sure as he's born.
You're probably right.
So what are you going to do about it? We can be here all night.
It's only one night. Our boy may die here.
Now, come on.
Yes, that's true.
I think we ought to get on with it.
Right. Let's get going here.
How do you like her?
Well, what do you say? You're the one holding up the show.
Obviously, you don't think the boy is guilty.
I have a reasonable doubt in my mind.
But you haven't really presented anything to us that will make it possible for us to understand your doubt. There's the old man downstairs. He heard it. He heard the kid shriek it out.
And the woman across the L tracks, she saw it.
We know he bought a switch knife that night, and we don't know where he really was. At the movies?
Earlier that night, the kid and his father did have a fight.
He's been a violent boy all the way. And while that doesn't prove anything...
Still, you know.
I have a proposition to make. I want you 11 to vote by secret ballot. I'll abstain. If there are still 11 votes for guilty, I won't stand alone. We'll take in a guilty verdict right now.
All right, let's do it.
That sounds fair. Is everyone agreed?
I certainly am.
Let's roll it.
Perhaps this is best.
Oh.
Come on. You can go.
Yeah, let's speed her up. I got a baseball game to get to.
Yeah, we all got places to be. Shut up.
Guilty. 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 Guilty.
That's 6.
Please. 6 guilty. 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 Not guilty. Guilty.
How do you like that?
Who was it? I think we have a right to know.
All right. Who did it? What idiot changed their vote?
Now, is that the way to talk about a man's life?
Whose life are you talking about? The life of a dead man or the life of a murderer?
I want to know. Who?
So do I.
Excuse me, this was a secret ballot?
And no one looked while we did it, but now I want to know.
A secret ballot, we agreed on this point, no? the person wants it to remain a secret, then...
What do you mean? There are no secrets in here. I know who it was. What's the matter with you? You come in here and you vote guilty. Then this slick preacher starts to tear your heart out with stories about a poor kid who couldn't help becoming a murderer. So you change your vote. And if that isn't the most sickening
Now
thing...
hold it!
I agree with you that the boy is guilty, but let's try to be fair.
Hold it, be fair? That's just what I'm saying. We're trying to put a guilty man into a chair where he belongs, and all of a sudden we're paying attention to fairy tales.
Now, just a minute.
No, you listen to me.
Let's try to keep this organized.
It isn't organized, but let's try to be civilized.
Please, I would like to say something here. I have always thought that a man was entitled to have unpopular opinions in this country. This is the reason I came here. I wanted to have the right to disagree.
Do you disagree with us?
Usually I would. In this case, I agree with you, but the point I wish to make is that in my own country, I am ashamed to say, but...
Oh, now, wow. What do we have to listen to? The whole history of your country?
It is always wise to bear in mind what has happened in other countries when people aren't allowed to disagree. But we are, so let's try to stick to the subject.
Yeah, let's stick to the subject. I want to ask you, what made you change your vote?
Yeah, I want to know too. You haven't told us yet.
Why do you think I did change my vote?
Because I do, now get on with it.
There's nothing for her to tell you. She didn't change her vote. I did.
I was going to tell you, but you were
Oh,
so
sorry.
sure of
Now,
yourself.
let me tell you
like
why.
to know
No,
why.
let me tell you why the
Man
kid's a
wants
piece
to
of...
talk.
Thank you. Now, this woman chose not to stand alone against us, and that's her right. Takes a great deal of courage to stand alone, even if you believe in something very strongly. She left the verdict up to us. She gambled for support, and, well, I gave it to her. I wanted to hear more. The vote is 10-2.
That's fine. If the speech is over, let's go on.
Hey, listen, I'm sorry that they attacked you like that. It was so nice. It's okay.
If there was anything in the boy's favor, I'd vote not guilty.
I don't see what it is.
Neither do I. They're clutching at straws.
As guilty as they get, that's the kid, I suppose.
It's that one juror that's holding out. But she'll come around. She's got to. And fundamentally, she is a very reasonable person.
I guess so.
They haven't come up with one real fact yet to back up a not guilty verdict.
It's hard, you know.
Yes, it is. And what does guilty beyond a reasonable doubt really mean anyway?
What's a reasonable doubt?
Exactly. When a life is at stake, what is a reasonable doubt? You've got to have law and order. You've got to draw the line somewhere. If not, everyone would start knifing people.
Not much doubt here.
2 people think so. I wonder why. I really wonder why.
Well, you do hear stories about innocent men who have gone to jail or death sometimes. Then years later, things turn up.
And on the other hand, some killers get turned loose and they go and do it again. They squeeze out on some technicality and they kill again.
Hey, look, buddy. Now that we've kind of cooled off, I was a little excited a minute ago. Well, you know how it is. I didn't mean to get nasty. It's nothing personal.
Okay.
Look, supposing you answer me this. If the kid didn't kill him, then who did?
As far as I know, we're supposed to decide whether or not the boy on trial is guilty. We're not concerned with anyone else's motives here.
I suppose so, but who else had motive?
The kid's father was along in years, maybe an old grudge.
And remember, it is guilty beyond a reasonable doubt. It's an important thing to remember here.
Oh, everyone's a lawyer. Suppose you explain to us what your reasonable doubts are?
Well, this isn't easy. So far, it is only a feeling I have. A feeling, but well, perhaps you don't understand that.
No, I don't.
A feeling? What are we gonna do? Spend the night talking about your feelings? What about the facts?
Hey, you said a mouthful. Look, the old man heard the kid yell, "I'm gonna kill you." A second later, you heard the father's body falling, and you saw the kid running out of the house 15 seconds after that.
Where's the reasonable doubt in that?
That's right. And let's not forget about the woman across the street. She looked into an open window and saw the boy stab his father. She saw it.
Now, if that isn't enough for you...
It's not enough for me.
What is enough for you? I'd like to know.
How do you like her? It's like you're talking to a dead phone.
The woman saw the killing through the windows of a moving elevated train. The train had 5 cars, and she saw it through the windows of the last 2 cars. She remembers the most insignificant details.
Well, what have you got to say about that?
I don't know. It doesn't seem quite right to me.
Well, supposing you think about it. Hey, lend me your pencil. Let's play some tic-tac-toe. Might as well pass the time.
This isn't a game.
Hey, now wait a minute.
This is a man's life.
Who do you think you are?
All right, let's take it easy.
I've got a good mind to walk around this table and belt her
Now,
one.
please, I don't want any fights in here.
Did you see her? The nerve. The absolute nerve.
All right. Forget it. It don't mean anything.
How about sitting down?
This isn't a game. Who does she think she is?
Weren't we talking about elevated trains?
Yes, we were.
So?
How long does it take an elevated train going at top speed to pass a given point?
What has that got to do with anything?
How long would it take? Just guess.
I wouldn't have the slightest idea.
Neither would I.
I don't think that they ever mentioned it.
Well, what do you think?
About 10 or 12 seconds, maybe?
I'd say that's a fair guess. Anyone else?
I would think about 10 seconds,
About
perhaps.
10 seconds, yes.
All right, we're agreed. 10 seconds. Now, what are you getting at?
This. It takes an L train 10 seconds to get past a given point. That given point being the window of the room in which the killing took place. You can almost reach out of the window at that room and touch the L, right?
That's right, I tried it.
All right. Now let me ask you this. Did anyone here ever live by the L tracks?
I've lived close to them.
They make a lot of noise, don't they? I've lived right by the L tracks. When your window is open and the train goes by, the noise is almost unbearable. You can't hear yourself think.
All right. You can't hear yourself think. Get to the point.
Well, the old man downstairs heard the boy say,
He didn't say it. He screamed it.
The old man heard the boy scream, I'm going to kill you. And then 1 second later, he heard the body falling. 1 second, that's the testimony, right?
Right.
The woman across the street looked through the windows of the last 2 cars of that L and saw the body falling, right?
Right.
So?
The last 2 cars. The last 2 cars.
What are you giving us here?
An L train passes a given point in 10 seconds, or 2 seconds per car. That L had been going by the old man's window for at least 6 seconds and maybe more before the body fell, according to the woman. The old man would have had to hear the boy say, I'm going to kill you, while the front of the L was roaring past his nose. It's not possible he could have heard it.
What do you mean? Sure, he could have heard it.
With an L train going by?
He said the boy yelled it out.
An L train makes a lot of noise.
It's enough for me.
It's enough for me, too.
I don't think the boy could have heard it.
Maybe the old man didn't hear it. I mean, with the L noise.
What are you people talking about? Are you calling the old man a liar?
Something doesn't fit.
Well, it stands to reason.
You're crazy. Why would he lie? What's he got to gain?
Attention, maybe.
You keep coming up with these bright sayings. Why don't you send one into the newspaper? They pay $2.
What does that have to do with a man's life? Why might the old man have lied? You have a right to be heard.
Well, it's just that I looked at the man for a very long time. The seam under his jacket, it was split. Did you notice that? This is an old man with a torn jacket, and he carried 2 canes. Well, I think that I know him better than anybody here does. This is a quiet, frightened, insignificant old man who's been nothing all his life. Never been recognized, never had his name in the newspapers. Nobody knows him after 75 years. This is a very sad thing. A man like this, he needs to be recognized and questioned and quoted and talked to just once. This is very important.
And you're trying to tell us that he lied about a thing like this just so he can be important.
Well, he wouldn't really lie. Or perhaps he'd make himself believe that he heard those words and recognized the boy's face.
Whoa, that's the most fantastic story I've ever heard. How could you make a thing like that up?
I'm not making it
Now,
up.
you must be making it up. People don't lie about things like that.
I told you he made himself believe that he was telling the truth.
What do you know about it?
I speak from experience.
What?
I am that same man.
I think we understand now. Thank you.
If you want to admit that you're a liar, that's all right by me.
Now that is too much.
He's a liar. He just told us so.
He didn't say he was a liar. He was explaining.
Didn't you admit that you're a liar?
Please. He was explaining the circumstances so we can understand why the old man might have lied. There's a difference.
A liar is a liar. That's all there is to it.
Please, have some compassion.
Please, we have our job and our duty here.
I think they've covered it.
I hope we have.
All right. Is there anything else?
Oh, cough drop?
No, thank you.
Anybody want a cough drop?
Come on, let's get on with it.
I'll take one. Thank you. Now, there's another point I'd like to bring out here. I think we proved that the old man couldn't have heard the boy say, "I'm going to kill you."
I disagree.
Let's hear her through anyway.
But, supposing the old man really did hear the boy say, "I'm gonna kill you." This phrase, how many times have each of you used it? Probably hundreds. Hey, if you do that one more time, Junior, I'm going to murder you. Oh, come on, Rocky, kill him. We say it every day. This doesn't mean we're actually going to kill somebody.
Don't the circumstances alter that somewhat?
The old man was murdered.
One thing more. The phrase was, "I'm going to kill you." And he screamed it out at the top of his lungs.
That's the way I understand it.
Now don't try and tell me he didn't mean it. Anybody says a thing like that, the way he said it, they mean it.
And how they mean it.
Well, let me ask you this. Do you really think the boy would shout out a thing like that so the whole neighborhood would hear him? I don't think so. He's much too bright for that.
Bright? He's a common, ignorant slob. He doesn't even speak good English.
He doesn't even speak English well.
The boy is clever enough.
I'd like to change my vote to not guilty.
Are you sure?
Yes, I'm sure.
The vote is 9-3 in favor of guilty.
I'd like to know why you changed your vote.
I think there's a doubt.
Where? What is the doubt?
There's the knife.
Oh, fine. She talked you into believing a fairy tale.
Go on. Give us the reason.
Well, it's the old man, too. Maybe he didn't lie, but then just maybe he did. Maybe the old man just didn't like the kid.
Well, if that isn't the end.
I believe that there's a reasonable doubt.
What are you basing it on? Stories that this lady made up? She ought to write for Amazing Detective Monthly. She'd make a fortune. Listen, the kid had a lawyer, didn't he? Why did he bring up all these points?
Lawyers can't think of everything.
Oh, brother. You're sitting here pulling stories out of thin air, and now we're supposed to believe that the old man didn't get out of bed, run to the door, and see the kid beat it downstairs 15 seconds after the killing?
That is the testimony, I believe.
Oh, and the old man swore to this. Yes, he swore to this. Only so he could be important.
Did the old man say he ran to the door?
Ran, walked, what's the difference? He got there.
I don't remember what he said, but I don't see how he could run.
He said he went. I remember it now. He went from the bedroom to the front door. That's enough, isn't it?
Where was his bedroom again?
Down the hall somewhere.
Down the hall? Are we to send a man off to die because it's down the hall somewhere?
I thought you remembered everything. Don't you remember that?
No, I don't.
I don't remember either.
I'd like to see the diagram of the apartment.
Why don't we have them run the trial over, just so you can get everything straight?
The bedroom is down the hall. Somewhere. Do you know? Do you know exactly where it is? Please, there's a life at stake here. Do you know?
Well,
Foreman.
I heard you.
All right. What's this one for? How come you're the only one who wants to see exhibits all the time?
I want to see this one, too.
So do I.
And I want to stop wasting time.
Are we going to start waiting for all that nonsense about where the body was found?
No. We're going to find out how an old man who walks with a pair of canes and who's had 3 strokes in the last 2 years could get to his door in 15 seconds.
He said 20 seconds.
He said 15.
Well, how does he know how long 15 seconds is? You can't judge that kind of thing.
Well, he said 15. He was very positive
He's
about
an
it.
old man. You saw that. Half the time he was confused. How could he be positive about anything? Well, you know.
No, I don't know. Maybe you know.
Is this what you wanted?
That's right, thank you.
Sure, that's my job.
You want this?
Yes, please.
Do me a favor. Wake me up when this is over.
I've looked at that diagram for 2 hours. Enough is enough.
Some of us are interested. Go on.
All right. This is the apartment in which the killing took place, but the old man's apartment is directly beneath it and exactly the same. Here are the L tracks, the bedroom, another bedroom, bathroom, living room, kitchen, and this is the hallway. This is the front door to the apartment, and these are the steps. Now, the old man was in bed in this room. He says he got up, went to his bedroom door, opened it, went out into the hallway, down the hallway, and to the front door. And he looked out just in time to see the boy racing down the stairs. Am I right so far?
That's the story.
That's what happened.
15 seconds after he heard the body falling.
Correct.
His bed was at the window. It's 12 feet from his bed to the bedroom door, and the length of the hallway is 43 feet 6 inches. He would have had to get up out of bed, get his canes, walk 12 feet, open his bedroom door, walk 43 feet, and open the front door, all in 15 seconds. Do you think this is possible?
You know it's possible.
I don't see why not.
He would have been in a hurry. He did hear the scream.
He can only walk very slowly. They have to help him into the witness chair.
You make it sound like it's a long walk. It's not.
Well, for a man carrying 2 canes, it is a long walk.
What are you doing?
I want to try this thing. Let's see how long it took him. I'm going to pace off 12 feet, the length of the bedroom.
You're crazy. You can't recreate a thing like that.
Perhaps if we could see it, this is an important point.
It's a ridiculous waste of time.
Just let her do it.
I can't see any harm in it. Foolish, but go ahead.
Hand me a chair, please. All right. This is the bedroom door. How far would you say it is from here to the door of this room?
I'd say it's about 20 feet.
Just about.
20 feet is close enough. From here to the door and back is about 40 feet. It's shorter than the distance the old man had to walk, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, a few feet, maybe.
Look, this is absolutely insane. What makes you think it can do this?
We can't stop her.
Do you mind if I try it? According to you, it'll only take 15 seconds. I think we can spare that. Now, does anybody have a watch with a second hand?
I have.
Stomp your foot when you'd like me to start. That'll be the body falling.
We'll time you from there.
Right. Let's say he keeps his canes right at his bedside, right?
Right.
Okay. I'm ready.
Oh, I'm waiting for the hand to be at 60.
It's okay. It's just trying to be accurate.
Pick it up. You walk twice as fast as that.
This is, I think, even more quickly than the old man walked to the courtroom.
No, it isn't.
If you think I should go faster, I will.
Speed it up a little.
I'm tired of this. Okay, they're completely different environments, completely different motivations.
There's no dead body.
No arguing.
I mean, what are we trying to do with this?
I can't even go to the baseball game now.
How do we put up with this kind of...
Stop.
Right.
What's the time?
15, 20, 25, 30, 35. 39 seconds exactly.
That can't be.
39 seconds?
Now that's interesting.
Hey, now, you know.
Well, what do you think about that?
39 seconds. 39.
And your old cripple swore on his oath that it was only 15.
She may have been a little bit off on the speed that the old cripple moved at, but 24 seconds off. Well, now, you know.
Oh, far be it from me to call anyone a liar. And even accounting for quite a difference in speed between the old man and you, why, there's still quite a
discrepancy.
It's my guess that the old man was trying to get to his front door, heard somebody racing down the stairs, and assumed it was the boy.
I think that's possible.
Assumed? Listen to me, you people. I've seen all kinds of dishonesty in my day, but this little display takes the cake.
What dishonesty?
Tell her. You come in here with your heart bleeding all over the floor about slum kids and injustice, and you make up these wild stories, and you got some soft-hearted old ladies listening to you. Well, I'm not. I'm getting really sick of you. What's the matter with you people? The kid's guilty. He's got a bird. We're letting him slip through our fingers.
Our fingers? Are you his executioner?
I'm one of them.
Oh, perhaps you'd like to pull the switch.
For this kid? You bet I'd like to pull the switch.
I'm sorry for you.
Don't start with me.
What it must feel like to want to pull the switch.
Shut up.
You're a sadist.
Shut up.
You want to see this boy die because you personally want it, not because of the facts. You're a beast.
Shut up.
You disgust me.
Shut up. Shut up. Hey, let me go. Let me go. I'll kill her. I'll kill her.
You don't really mean you'll kill me, do you?